The Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal Big Footy rules still apply. Alright, so this is the Flogcast for round 11. Fyfie joined by Dan,
Evening.
Teach,
Hello.
and Penal.
Hi there. Is that it?
Yeah, that is. We wanted to get dual North and West Coast member Son of Reap, but we couldn't, as he's currently too busy answering questions about North on the West Coast board. And Mardo's, well, we're not sure. We think Mardo might have gone a bit Michael Hutchins over Chad Wingard over the weekend, so we couldn't get him either.
Oh, he had an asphyxie wank and he's dead.
And we're without Les because he's trying to think of excuses to get out of going to the football this week. And who can blame him on that count? We will start with, well, match of the round. Penal. We'll start with Port versus Hawthorn.
Gallant effort from Box.
Yeah, this match sucked.
They were brave, though.
It was good to watch. It was a good game to watch, and I think you can't really hate on the way the Hawks went about it. I think there were some great sort of individual performances, and considering the injuries, they did really well. And but
Injuries,
Port,
of course, the injuries.
Sort of the real deal, though, so it was good to see them in action against a really top team for the first time this year, because I don't think they've played any other top teams so far this year.
You fucking wanker. The difference was Wingard. Oh, how much of a player is he turning into? Not to take a notch out of what Hawthorn did, even though Penal was a fucking wanker. Hawthorn actually could have snatched it, except for Wingard. The things that he did in that game, I reckon that GWS and the others going back to their draft when he was taken third or fourth, was he?
Sixth. GWS had the
Sixth?
first five picks. He went sixth. He told them he didn't want to go there.
I'll tell you what, you remix that draft, he goes one, because he is the best player out of that draft without a doubt. And I know Marto and all of his poofter mates are going to be going, Wingard, wank, 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 wank. But, you know, he is seriously gun player.
Yeah, Wanfree's played a pretty good game too, as did Boak.
Does that mean we get the fucking moral victory because Monfree's kicked 4 and we lost by like 14 points? So
I think so. Yes. I think
Kind of
that's
get
the moral
sick of
victory.
hearing about these moral victories and all these injuries from the Hawthorn supporters. It's just like it's the new goots now. Oh, injuries, umpires. They won the free kick count by 7.
the umpires were awful early. They were just giving everything to Port, but it did even out towards the end.
The team that's on top in the game wins more free kicks. Everybody knows that.
That was the case on Saturday night, without a doubt, because when Port had the run of the play, all the decisions went their way, and then when we had the run in the second half, it kind of went the same for us.
But it was a cracker to watch. Really, really high standard.
Don't overhype Port's win. It was Box Hill they beat, not Hawthorn.
I think from a Port perspective, I mean, you can only beat who is in front of you, and they sort of pass the test, and I think these teams will meet very late in the year.
Quite possibly, and it'll be interesting to see if Port sustain it. I think they've just about booked the top 4 spot now. 9-1 mate premiers. Who would have thought
Upstairs
that?
to lose, pretty much.
Yeah,
If they finish top 2, you'd bank on them making the granny from there.
yeah, you would, because they'll play at Adelaide Oval.
What you got to think about is that all sides hit some kind of a wall during the year.
Yeah, but they've got a pretty good base before they hit that wall.
Exactly, yes. But it's been a very warm autumn. But, you know, when it hits the cold of winter and it's raining, are they going to win every game? I think they're in for a downer at some stage.
But at least they get to manage through it towards the end. That's the thing, they get to manage through.
Exactly, yes.
You're basing this on the weather, Teach.
No, this is what tends to happen every single year. And
Winter and the rain, yeah.
yeah, they've been up for a long time. So they are going to hit the wall at some stage and they're going to have some unexpected losses.
I don't know why you're blaming blaming the weather though. They're not North.
Yeah, they're not roof specialists. Can you give us the weather for tomorrow, Teach, and all that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be mild. It's about 19 with a chance of showers in the afternoon. Yes.
But another interesting thing was the crowd, which was a football record for South Australia. So
Yeah, but it still wasn't the fucking biggest sporting event in South Australian history because that was last week, according to Bruce.
All I was told about bloody noise. Every fucking 10 seconds, the commentators kept mentioning about the noise.
well, that's because you got Luke Darcy say that again, who has a habit of saying everything again in his commentary.
Yeah, say that again.
Say that again.
How about Brian Taylor and his attempt to fucking bring thunder thighs into the football vernacular?
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He's been reading Bosk's posts. He was talking about Ollie Wines' thighs.
Yeah, he's one guy I wouldn't mind having his vocal cords ripped out.
Yeah, he's a muppet in there. But yeah, now Port supporters, they've all come out. Maybe when the weather turns, they'll all disappear and the bay covers will come back. Because, as it's been cited, there are an awful lot of bandwagoners if they're getting record crowds now when they're winning.
Yeah, I reckon they're being a little bit twitchy bumhole. They're nervous about being top of the ladder and being favourites, and they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, they've got bad memories from 2001 where they went out in straight sets to the Hawks, and obviously 2002, 2003 they finished top of the ladder both years.
Exactly, right.
If they don't deliver in finals, the old choker tag will be back. But another thing about the crowd is that they do get a big crowd, but it's been revealed that the stadium returns are actually really shit. So maybe there was not much faith in them drawing a crowd, and that's why it's pretty bad. Apparently they only got 35k for the 53,000 crowd they had for the showdown. Yes.
What, is Ian Collins running the show over there?
It sounds like
that's a fucking $1 per person or something. Ridiculous.
Even the Melbourne Etihad crowds are laughing at that.
Which numbhole negotiated for that deal?
Probably Koshy, the finance expert.
Anything else on that game?
I really enjoyed watching the game.
Yeah, same.
And I actually thought that Hawthorn were a sneaky chance,
Boxer.
but the difference was Wingard in the end.
Yeah, everything we sort of threw at Port, and we threw the kitchen sink at them in the second half, but they found a way to respond, and they'll go far this year.
Great effort from a VFL team, but
and it's good to note that two teams like who play a really good, exciting brand of football are doing so well this year, and hopefully, these two teams will contest the grand final. None of this fucking defensive Sydney Fremantle crap. Geelong are okay too, but they can get fucked.
Oh, well, thanks for throwing us in there, you prick.
No, your brand of footy is alright. I just don't want to see Geelong in a grand final. I want to see them choke in a prelim again to Hawthorn.
We're coming at you, prick. Get ready.
We will move on to, we'll go to Geelong North, down at the shithole, then the battle for the top bunk.
Ah, too easy. I mean, where did North put away their endeavour for a half? They were shit for a half, and Geelong just did what they wanted. And then, North Melbourne turned up and started to play, and they won the second half. But too bad, too late, behind, lost.
pretty hard to dispute that. I've got to say, North never looked like winning, even though they only lost by 20 odd points. I think Teacher's wagon turned into the hot dog stand for Hawkins. He was on fire. I saw Teach in the stand too, and Hawkins, one of his marks wasn't paid. He got all upset.
I saw him on the ground.
I was out there playing, mate. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah? I thought I saw you in the cheer squad.
No, well, you talk to Fyfie. Fyfie spots me out on the ground every time.
So you're a vlogcaster, a weatherman, and an AFL player.
Yes, I do everything.
He does. And he runs the cheer squad too.
Jeez, how do you do it all?
Well, mate, I just, cocaine and
Hookers?
and juice up on a speedball every now and again. What can I say? But, I mean, this is why North do your head in, because you see how they can play, and they don't play like that for a whole game. And when they do play like that for a whole game, they can beat anyone.
It's enough to make you want to throw your arms up in the air, isn't it?
It's enough to make you want to fucking microwave your North Melbourne membership and go back to your West Coast one.
No, we're not the Tigers. We don't do that.
North Melbourne were the first club to actually do that wasn't Biffinator. True
But
story.
anyway,
Oh,
the Cats
bullshit.
won.
I don't believe it.
Everyone's happy.
I said last week I was very worried about the Cats, and I think that still holds because they were very reliant on Kelly and Bartel in the first half.
Not just that, because you said Port and Hawthorn likely to play off, and maybe Geelong, because they're a good brand of football, but they're not going to make the finals.
Oh, no, they're not, because
No,
the
they're
finals predictor...
Petrie.
Petrie got 3.
No finals for you, Teach.
Yeah, after he put through number
Oh,
3, you
wow.
could just see the Geelong heads drop, and they let North pile on 3 more and actually turned it into somewhat of a game with about 10 minutes to go, but they just couldn't get it
I
done.
guess we're fucked. We're second on the ladder and we're gone.
No, you cannot deny that Drew Petrie predictor analogy. It's 800% accurate.
Well, in some parallel universe, that all works out. But unfortunately, we work with true mathematics here. So
You mean Roby?
You laugh now, but just you wait when you're sitting in ninth spot and Brisbane have overtaken you.
I've got a lazy 100 here. Anyone want to take me up on that?
You don't bet.
Well, I will on that.
You can't. You're a player.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Oh, sorry. I can't. Yes, I'm a player. Yes.
No.
Take that back. Scrub it. Fyfie, rub that out from the vlogcast.
The accuracy of the Drew Petrie finals predictor is remarkable, considering the fucking accuracy of Drew Petrie's kicking is like less than 50%.
Anything else on that game before we move on? Chris Scott had a whinge about the umpires. Magic Doors copped a lot of criticism.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't do much, did he? He's
Copped most of the criticism from Carey, isn't it?
Yeah, and Richo, I think, as well. A few people got
he
stuck
doesn't
with.
have a hard enough go. When I was
Played
out
the
there,
game for AFL football.
when I was out there and I gathered the ball on the wing and Magic was coming at me, I found it very easy just to dodge around him and just smack it forward. So I don't think he's having much of a go.
Apparently, he's looking to have Kerry mentor him, which I already thought he was, considering the whole teammates' wives thing.
Well, it's not like he's barging in on people in the toilet or anything.
That was everything on Geelong versus North. We'll move on from that. Next, we'll go to Eddie. Press red for raging Eddie.
I didn't watch that game.
I did, with Eddie on in the third quarter.
What was that like?
It was amazing because he was going full plug of 35 on the umpires. It was just
That
everything.
cannot be a free kick.
Yeah, did you watch it?
Yeah, a bit of it.
Yeah, like you turn off when they kick a goal and the wanking starts, and then you turn back. And I noticed it when the crowd were losing their shit over a free kick, and I went, I wonder what Eddie's saying right now. That was when I decided to really turn on, and he's going nuts, and he's going, free kick, and it's funny how he's got Dacos, Christian, and Tony Shaw all former players, and then I don't think anyone thinks Tony Shaw's an expert, but you got to love how he knew more about football than Dacos. Dacos is saying put it 20 or 30 metres out from goal where Cloak can run at it and mark, and Eddie's like, no, kick it long to the square. And it's just like...
I wonder what Eddie thought of the Grundy 50.
That was when I turned off them, when he got that 50. And even they laughed about it. They were just like, oh... But then I think Eddie probably said something about it being an even upper.
I saw a highlights package about Ed TV, and they were deliberately moaning about the goals that were kicked by the West Coast, and they were just so over the top about everything that went for Collingwood. I mean, they did that on purpose because it was Collingwood TV.
I'm not sure Eddie was. It's in some cases. I'm not sure he was because apparently he dropped an F-bomb at some point. And it was funny how they just go silent whenever a goal got kicked as well by West Coast.
But that was a really good match, actually.
Yeah, it was.
The West Coast, they probably deserved to have at least a shot at winning it. Things didn't actually go their way in the last quarter.
The Grundy 50 was bullshit.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't say it cost them the game, but that turned the match.
The skill level was pretty bad on both sides, though. So the sides obviously are a long way off Hawthorn and Port.
Hawthorn on top of the ladder panel, in case you didn't check. Fucking arsehole.
Yeah, but Hawthorn are the highest ranked team to have beaten a team above them. So they're moral second place on the ladder.
Do you think the whole press red thing is strategically done in games where they think Collingwood are going to win?
Oh, you think? Of course.
I think it is too. I'd like to see them do that for a game against Hawthorn. Mind you, apparently KB's getting one for the North game, so that should be interesting for everybody else.
Really?
So, yeah, because I don't think we're going to win that.
Well, North will be coming back from Perth, so you're a chance.
True. It's funny, though, even with the biased commentary, how Eddie and friends could not cover up the shitness of Cloak.
No. He's having a worse year than Petrie.
Oh, he's terrible at the moment.
I don't know how he's missed the spotlight.
He's starting to get it now because they've all been thinking he'll burst open. Nah, he's just...
He's starting to cop his fair whack, which is good.
Yeah, he's been putrid. And he was at the weekend. He kicked the goal late and he was pretty lucky to get it. It was one of them snaps around the corner that kept low and he happened to be in front position. It just fell into his arms close to goal. Otherwise, he had basically no impact. In fairness to him, none of the key forwards on the ground had good games. But him and Darling were the worst of them and he's been bad for a while. The other thing was Yo's teeth.
Oh, yeah.
What was he doing without a mouth guard?
He apparently was in his sock.
Oh, you could see the teeth fly out of his mouth. What was he doing?
Apparently they snapped off as well. The nerves and the roots are still in his gum, but the bit that's exposed snapped off. So it's actually going to cost him about $70,000.
I read that somewhere. Is the club going to fork out the bill or is he going to have to pay for it?
I don't know how that works with injuries.
Or could he be covered?
I have no idea. You'd think they'd get some kind of coverage on that, but how do you not have the mouthguard in?
Well, Sam Mitchell never wears a mouth. There are some players that just don't wear a mouthguard. It's crazy.
You're playing with fire, aren't you?
Well, these days, I mean, the amount of collisions that happen
And he's went smack bang into Wits as well.
which is crazy. Well, bad luck, mate. Pay up because you should have been wearing a mouth guard and you wouldn't be in this position.
Pretty much.
The dental bill was quoted at, what, 70,000 or something?
Where's he going? Is he going to Jeffrey Edelson's dental clinic for 70K?
It's disappointing they don't have paddles on this week because he'd be like, fucking serves him right, the homesick, scummy traitor boy, or something like that, to that effect. Hope mum can take care of his teeth.
Penal did mention before that it wasn't a great standard game. The skills were pretty shit in that game. But I think that's really unfair when you compare it to the game that was Sunday Twilight. Carlton versus Adelaide, which was...
Oh, that was deplorable.
Biggest clanger fest of all time.
Disgraceful game.
Boring, nothing game of footy.
But it was, in a weird way, compelling. And I would compare it to... Has anyone ever seen the movie The Room with Tommy Wiseau?
No.
Okay, it's basically the worst movie ever, but you can't help but watch and laugh at how bad it is. Compare it to, that Sharknado thing that went around. That was just so bad, but you couldn't help but watch it. That was this game. This was the Sharknado of football games, in that there were just so many mistakes you could not laugh at them all. Like, I can't even begin to list them. There was a passage of play where Jared Waite marks 15 out from goal when no crow went up to contest the mark, and he misses it 15 metres out, basically directly in front, and the ball didn't get high enough off the ground to clear the man on the mark, even if it went straight. So then the Crows player kicks it straight to the Carlton player, who kicks the goal. And then at the centre square, Brock McLean wanders into the square and gives away a free kick for too many players there. That was all in 30 seconds.
It was terrible. It was a train wreck, just watching it. Unfortunately, because it was the last game of the weekend,
And it was close as well.
It was close, and so it sort of, you kept your attention and go, oh, well, is this going to be exciting? But it was just rubbish all the way through.
That game does make a good argument for the fucking Sunday Twilight and shit TV slots, because if that had been on a Friday night, God help us all.
That would be awful. The game was summed up by the drop mark to finish it when Charlie Cameron, who Bruce jizzed over the wet before way too much, drops the mark on the siren that would have given them a shot at winning.
The siren did actually go a split second before it hit his hands, though.
But it would have been interesting to see what the umpire did.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because technically, if he did take that mark, that was after the siren.
Yeah, and umpiring fast would have not been out of place in that game. Just another mistake.
Yeah.
Dangerfield marks 20 metres out, directly in front, then decides to play on and try and snap it.
That was a massive brain fart.
Wasn't that just...
There was a thing in the paper in the last day or so saying that Melbourne should launch a $1 million deal to get hold of Dangerfield when he's up.
So should everyone else.
Did you hear
For
about
8 years,
fucking,
though.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Dwayne jizzing over Dangerfield? He was like calling him the fucking LeBron of our game.
Who did that?
Dwayne.
Oh, Dwayne. Oh, actually, I did notice that. Yeah, you're bringing LeBron back on. Yeah, I did notice that. That was ridiculous. Just so much out of that game. Like, there was a stage there where Carlton were allowed to throw the ball. And I think the reason the umpire let it go was because the skills were so shit that at least the throw hit the target, so just let it go. Because they weren't hitting the target by hand or foot. So they just dropped the rules to adjust. It was shit.
The less said about that game, the better.
Yep.
Well, Richmond beat GWS. GWS are probably just as bad as those two teams, but yeah, Jack kicks 11.
On Heath Shaw.
Yeah, on Heath Shaw. Yeah, that was a weird matchup.
I watched the first quarter of that game. The amount of space that Richmond players had to spread and to carry the ball and to hit targets, it was just too easy. It's just too easy for them.
As I am not a simpleton like certain other Richmond supporters who post on the Bay, who...
Give us some names, Fyfie.
Well, the type who can't change tyres.
Yeah, everyone knows who that is.
Yeah, I don't think the corner has been turned because GWS are just that bad. I think there's still some flaws there. Vickery managed to beat up on a weaker team, but yeah.
Why was Heath Shaw playing on Rewalt?
Because they had no one else by that point. He was his third opponent, and I think Leon Cameron just adopted the philosophy that, well, if Revolt's going to take someone to the cleaners, it may as well be the guy who's played 140 games. More than anyone else they had, and will be able to not feel so down about it. But
And Josh Hunt can't even get a game in that side. You know, he's finished.
Hey, neither can Stephen Gillum, and he's a premiership defender.
He got a game.
He did?
He played this week. They
he?
brought him back. They subbed him out. He was Revolt's first opponent, and Jack ran him all over the place.
That's a shame.
I thought the Tigers would win, but I didn't think they would slaughter GWS. I mean, that was just it's like a training run for the Tigers.
Basically, yeah. Although it is probably good for their confidence, because my theory, and I haven't raised this before, is that they've had to adjust the game plan after the way Carlton played them last year in the finals, and they ran over them 3 times during the year. And I think they've become a bit more conservative in the ball movement and a bit self-conscious about what to do, and they're indecisive in how they do it. So playing against that opposition, they kind of moved it with a bit more purpose, and that's what's been missing. But
you do get the feeling like against decent sides that there's a lot of Richmond players playing for their place in the team and not playing for the team.
yeah, well, there probably are a few like that, yeah.
I think you said, Fyfie, that this game...
Not Greg, though, because he's guaranteed the spot.
No, he's not. He's fucking awful.
I think you said, Fyfie, that this game raises more questions than it does answers.
It does. But we've probably talked about it more than we need to. Well, I imagine we'll talk about Richmond again if we stay in the bottom 4, even though we've jumped out. We have a percentage over 100 and a record of 3-6. Amazing. But yeah, we'll probably get more times to talk about that before the year's through. Moving on to Gold Coast versus the Bulldogs. Well, the Suns buried them in the third quarter. They're playing very good football now. They're third.
Well, I mean, it looked like what Ant said last week, that the Bulldogs had tied them down to their game style in the first half, and it was pretty tight. But after the first half, it just blew apart, and the Gold Coast just took them apart. And so, wow, third place. Who would have thought that?
And they would have been second too. I saw the live ladder. They were very close to second late in that game, and the Bulldogs kicked 3 or 4 in junk time and really brought the percentage back down. But they were a real chance of going past Geelong.
Ablett was quiet.
Yeah, it was all Matt Shaw through the midfield and Prestia. They're just building a really, really solid team. And Ablett's done all the hard yards early, and he's helped them develop, and now...
They've got marking targets too that are pretty good.
Yeah, I like Dixon. Still not sold on Lynch.
Lynch, Day.
I don't think he doesn't do it against the good teams, but...
Penal.
Penal's a good player. Very good player.
It's pretty good luxury to be able to play him off the forward line, floating through the middle, Wingard style.
That was a pretty much predicted result.
Not much else to say apart from Gary Ablett's stray elbow.
Yeah, someone mentioned he was quiet. That's because he let his fucking elbow do all the talking.
He had to talk to the umpires too, and was annoyed about the treatment he copped, and the umpire didn't even answer his question adequately.
Gary Ablett's elbow was a Barry Hall moment. I mean, the fact that he didn't...
Barry Hall was known for that.
Yeah, but the fact that Gary didn't even get cited for that, it just shows you that it doesn't matter what you do on the football field, it matters who you are.
I don't think he hit him in the face, though.
He did. I mean...
No, I don't think he didn't make contact with the face.
Nah, you can see where his head is. It would be very hard for him to actually hit him in the face. He looks like he hit him in the collarbone area.
It's just another example of the AFL fucking favouring the northern states to try and grow the game in rugby territory.
I think this is another case of Geelong butt hurt from Teach.
I agree with Penal, because if that had been any other player who was not a Brownlow medal favourite, they would have been rubbed out.
Even if he did hit him in the face, he wouldn't have gotten this. He could have chucked his own theses at the umpire and still not get suspended.
I know, yeah. Well, he could do that. He could run out naked and sort of butt-root half a dozen players out there and chew their ears off, and he'd still get off.
Hold the ball.
But yeah, honestly, on the side of that, had he been rubbed out, and considering Stevie J the week before and Nat Fyfie earlier in the season, there's almost an argument that maybe the Brownlow eligibility stuff needs to change. Because can you imagine if someone won the Brownlow on Brownlow night from 4th place with 3 suspended players?
Well, it's going to be hard for a suspended player to win it. I mean, you've got to pretty much play most of the games during the season to get votes to win it. I mean...
Everyone gets points at some stage, basically. It might come down to the fact where Jack Watts gets games because he avoids physical contact with anyone. And he wins the Brownlow with 4 votes because everyone else has been suspended.
Yeah, well, let's go back to when Chris Grant actually won the Brownlow, but Robert Harvey won it because of that Sid, Ian Collins, did something to rub Chris Grant out.
But Carlton don't get to fix things like that anymore.
No, I know, but you just don't want that kind of stuff to happen anymore.
No, you don't.
So, I've watched the video 10, 15 times. He hit him. He hit him with his elbow.
In the fucking collarbone, though. It was not in the face. Liam Picken even said it wasn't in the face, and he didn't bleed from the face.
Even though he hit him, it was not something that was worthy of a suspension or even a reprimand.
No.
So, why does that stuff still exist? exist in the game. We need to get rid of that.
I think that even though this is a case of like the AFL looking after their pet team and looking
pet
after
team's
the
Sydney,
Northern
everyone knows
States, they've got 3 pet teams at the moment. I don't need to spell them out for you. So even though like this reeks of favoritism, there was too much fuss about it because the Brownlow medal, like, it's not legitimate anymore. It's just a midfielder's medal. It doesn't actually recognise the best player all the time, and as far as I'm concerned, until Joe Watson is forced to hand back his medal, it will not be a legitimate award.
Shane Woden won one, and so it lost all relevance after that.
Though, in fairness, it would be good to see Ablett win a third, just so that we can put him on a higher plane than Judd and Goods officially, in every single way, because he's better than both of them. Let's end that debate.
Well, he doesn't even have to win it. I think it's already gone past it.
You're edging up to un-Australian territory there, Fyfie.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, you're being a bit racist there, Fyfie.
No, it's not racist to not like Goods, okay?
Well, I don't know.
But it is un-Australian.
Yeah, it's un-Australian.
Casual racism, Fyfie. Don't do it.
Yes.
One thing that was interesting about Ablett was when he ducked his head and Cooney got reported. That would have been a disgrace had he gone. But what was Ablett doing with his head inches above the ground? A technique he learnt from Selwood or something, must have been.
Oh, fuck off. Look, no, I think he was hungry and he saw a worm coming out of the ground and he went for it. I mean, he put his head straight into the turf.
Yeah, they've got to stop doing that.
Cooney would have had to do a bit of a Chinese acrobat move to get out of the way.
He would have had to have pirouetted out of the way.
Yeah.
And let's not go back to that, pirouetting.
I'm sure the Adelaide's board supporters found something really wrong with what Cooney was doing because he had the time to avoid the contact.
Oh, yeah. But also this week coming up is Indigenous round, and it seems every single club has made a jumper for the occasion. And, well, do we like any of them?
Well, ours is shit. I'm not against I think it's a good initiative, but whoever made ours, they need the fucking sack.
I saw yours described on the Limbo Club as someone has taken to it with wingdings.
Yeah, it's pretty shit. The Richmond one is normally good. What do you reckon of that?
The Richmond one's normally good, but this is probably the worst one we've had in the 4 years. Last year's was really good with the boomerangs, and Port Adelaide's is my favourite from this year, which just instead of their V, it's just boomerangs with simple designs, and theirs is kind of like that. Ours is not as good this year. It's gone with that whole pattern design over the whole thing, which is, I think these are better when they're minimalist. And a lot of them are overcomplicated, like the Geelong one, like the North one, like the Sydney one designed by Goodsy's mum. Yeah, the Richmond one's in that same bracket. There's just way too much on it. It's just too busy.
I really like the Hawthorn one. It really hits the spot for me.
Goo. So I haven't seen the Hawthorn one, so I don't know, but there's some bad ones out there.
It's one of the best 3, in my opinion.
Okay. The West Coast one was poor.
Oh, that looked like a piece of vomit on the jumper.
It did.
Just terrible. The North one, I've had a look at. It looks like they've got like a velociraptor claw right in the middle.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, I saw that. And then there's things all the way down the stripes, which is weird.
Yeah.
There were velociraptors in Australia at one time, so...
As old as the Indigenous people are in this country, I don't think they were there 65 million years
Not what
ago.
the dinosaurs teach, no.
Maybe the ones who could remember the velociraptors were actually the fastest runners that ever existed. If you want to get away from them, you just need to run.
Not to spoil everyone's fun here, but the velociraptors actually weren't like the ones in the movies, believe it or not.
Really? What were they like?
They were like little fucking birds. I saw a doco on it. Sorry to shatter your illusion.
Yeah,
Steven
goes all about
Spielberg,
fun.
you dodgy son of a bitch.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg took creative license. What do you know?
Oh, well, thanks for
That's
that.
crap. So if one was running at me, I could just kick it away.
I think they're big enough like a dog to take a chunk out of your leg or something. I think they're more like vultures. That was my memory of what they were supposedly like. Yeah, vultures was what they were described as. No one knows if that T-Rex thing with the vision was real either. Like, can you imagine that, having seen Jurassic Park and someone brings dinosaurs back, you go, don't worry, if I don't move, T-Rex ain't going to eat me.
Well, apparently the reason why we don't have any good photographic records of T-Rexes is because they couldn't take selfies because their arms are too short.
How did we get onto the subject of dinosaurs?
Velociraptors on North's jumper.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is North's fault.
Sorry.
But nothing else on the Indigenous jumpers. Some of them are truly awful though. Like, I like it in principle, but they've gone too much, I think.
Yeah, it's a good round. I mean, of all of the special rounds of football, this is one of the best. But
yeah, it's a good initiative, but we love ragging on the jumpers though.
Yeah, the jump.
It's not quite up there with lefty round though, and I'm hoping that for lefty round this year we get our own set of jumpers for that as well.
Well, the jumpers are shit, and I'm not going to be bothered find one, so let's
No,
move.
I don't like them. They're like some of the bad heritage round jumpers, if people remember those. Like, some of those were pretty ordinary too. Like, there's a reason some of those got ditched in the first place.
Maybe for lefty round we could do like a long sleeve, but only on the left side of the jumper.
Anyway, we will move on from dinosaurs to palm trees. Nic Nat has got a nice big juicy contract of 5 years at a rumoured $850K a year.
I reckon this is going to rival the buddy thread for disposals and efficiency for dollar.
That's one very expensive palm tree.
That doesn't bear any fruit, as you said.
He nearly took the mark of the year, but didn't.
I got to be honest though, if he managed to sink north after the siren every year, it's money well spent.
He didn't even take a mark on the weekend, so you can't even say like that's $850,000 per mark because you can't fucking divide by 0.
I know. Is this going to turn out to be the biggest singular, like crazy argument ever? Should we have taken Jack Watts or Nic Nat? Or
No.
they're both as shit as each other?
No. In fairness to Natanui, he is very, very good at what he does in the centre square. He's better with the hit-outs to advantage, and the clearances, the quality of clearance he provides is actually very good. And the highlights reels are in between, but Watts is just Watts with no intensity.
But no, Fyfie, under Ruse, Watts is evening the ledger. There was a big gap at the start of the year. Now the gap is
Only
a lot
because Nic
closer.
Nat's playing like a fucking
Who are you
dinosaur.
quoting, Penal?
No, I'm on Penal's bandwagon here because I reckon that Watts has closed the gap, and this is probably the worst first and second draft choices ever in the history of
Scully and Trengove.
The following year
Oh,
wouldn't
well,
be.
okay.
When you consider that such a gem like Schoenmakers slipped all the way to pick 16 in that 2008 draft.
Go.
No, that's not even goo. That's laughable that he's citing clangers. Speaking of, how many goal assists did clangers have for Port on the weekend?
Only the one, I think.
No, I
But
counted 3 of the
at
first 6.
this stage of their respective careers, Schoenmakers is ahead of both Watts and Natanui.
No, he is not. He has no All-Australians. He's just got bags kicked on him and finals losses credited to him.
Yeah, he's got his arsehole ripped apart by Hawkins, and according to you, he's a fat cunt.
That was in 2012, though. If we were to redo the 2008 draft, it would probably go something like Shields, Schoenmakers.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Let's just
Daniel
move
Rich should go
on.
number 1.
Shut
like,
up, you
probably should have at the
fucking
time.
Come on.
Chris Yaron, and then
No, Yaron's not getting drafted ahead of Nat Nui. He's got no heart. But no, funnily enough about that draft, since you're going to mention it, it's the Daniel Rich syndrome where the player who's ready-made and got the body slips. It's the same. Daniel Rich slipped to 9. Dustin Martin went 3 behind Scully and Trengove, and Ollie Wines slipped to 6, was it? 5 or 6? It's just, sometimes it's better to just draft the guy who's ready to go, even if there's perceived to be less, quotation marks, upside. Just saying. But Nat Nui, anything else on him?
He can jump.
He's okay. He's not as shit as everyone says. He's not as good as the media vap about him.
He's miles ahead of Watts, but he's not worth 800 plus.
No, he's not worth 850K. That's bad value for money, bad cap management, I think. We found the top 5 things that are better value for money than Nic Nat's contract. Number 5, Teach.
Attending GWS games, even with a free pass.
Number 4, Dan.
Non-virus Kogan TVs.
Number 3, this year's range of indigenous jumpers. Number 2, Penal.
the returns that Port are getting from their Adelaide Oval Stadium deal.
And number 1, Teach.
Every other contract in the AFL except Travis, no goals, no mark, close.
Yep. I think that's everything on Nic Nat, isn't it?
Do something. Take a mark. Kick a goal. Show us what you're worth.
I'm just checking the stats on this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just take your time, mate.
in 9 games this year, Natanui has got 2 goals.
Wow.
And in 3 games this year, Schoenmakers has 4, and he spent 2 of them playing in defence. So
Yeah, but Nic Nat wins hit-outs.
So he took all of our time up there just to let us know that Charmakers kicked more goals than him. Is that it?
We don't need goose stats.
Congratulations. Fucking hell.
You're starting to sound like hodgepodge.
maybe I really am fucking hodgepodge, and you've somehow got hodgepodge on the show after all these weeks.
That would be funny.
Oh, mind blown.
All right, we'll move on to this week on the Bay. Flog of the week.
Who is it?
So many to pick from. Where do we start?
Well, I think we start with the one guy who did the ultimate Suze/strategy and decided to dob Goo, the Horf alias, into the AFP for threatening to get Jared Ruffhead onto him.
Paul Rose.
Paul Roos, indeed.
Oh, that flog.
That was just one of the strangest things ever. He actually thought that someone on the Bay was going to send Jared Ruffhead out to get him. Like, there's no other contender, surely.
The Lynch has turned up again this week, and he's a fucking idiot. So I'd nominate him every day of the week.
Can't top Paul Rose.
Paul Roos was head and shoulders above the rest, but that other Swans poster, I think his name was Superstar Swan, showed up to kind of do his best impersonation.
Was that afterwards? Was that yesterday?
That was, afterwards, which makes me wonder, like, all the Swans guys on the Bay are fucking the same person.
Maybe the AFL plants, all of them are pumping up the numbers.
Maybe they're hanky.
Conspiracy.
I think Paul Roos gets it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All right, he said in.
Thread of the week, did we have a nomination there? Pretty slow week, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, has anyone sick of the Hawks posters?
Yeah.
Meltdown thread was a good one, but
The meltdown thread was good, yeah. I've got to nominate the official AFL Punchable Heads ladder.
Oh, that was a good one, yes.
That was great from Big Joe D. That was a late runner, and that was very good.
All right, let's go with that.
Yeah. And did anyone else, as soon as he started that thread, did everyone just think Mitch Robinson first?
Oh, yeah.
That was the first one that popped into my mind.
Who do you think I would put up there as the first punchable?
Chappie.
No, someone from Hawthorn.
Think about it. Who got hit by a Geelong player and plays for the Purple Poofs?
Oh, Ballantyne.
Oh, yeah. You smack that fucker in the face every week.
I'd like to nominate Selwood and Hawkins.
Anyway, one other thing from the Bay this week. It was mentioned before about Adam Goodes, whether it's racist not to like him or not, or un-Australian. And that thread, along with some other comments, led to the downfall of a Bay 13 favourite.
What happened?
Bosk.
You use the term favourite quite loosely there.
Yeah, well, he does have quite a following. There was a Bring Back Boss campaign. First time a campaign's been started to bring back a campaigner. But there was a lot of goo spilt over and tears mixed with goo after that.
I wonder what that would taste like.
Goo and tears.
You wonder what that would taste like. You actually want to know.
Yeah.
You're that penal. You're that curious.
That was a weird Freudian slip.
No, I'd like someone to tell me what it tastes like.
No, you want to know what it tastes like.
Yes.
You
there you
are
go,
sick.
Mr. 48%.
But yes, Bosk got himself banned.
Well, how long's he banned for?
Burma, he's gone.
He's perma-banned, so he's got to serve at least a month before he makes a new account.
Ouch.
But as has been noted by many people, when Bosk gets banned, shit happens with Essendon. So we can look forward to that pretty soon, I think sometime in the next 4 weeks. Anything else on that?
Rest in peace, Bosk.
Just on last week's poll was, is it wrong to complete other activities whilst broadcasting penal? 11% condemned you with saying yes, it is wrong. 63% said if Bruce McAvaney does it, it must be okay. And 26% said Jack Watts finds porn both scary and confusing.
I went with the Bruce McAvaney option.
Bruce is my inspiration and my hero, so... I bet he knows what goo and tears taste like.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Just imagine in the fucking 2012 grand final watching Jadon Rioli, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, Cyril, come on, catch him!" And he's spilling goo everywhere.
Well,
and
it's
when
times
Jetta
like
kicks the
these,
ball away,
I'm grateful we don't get
Christ.
to see the commentators while they're commentating.
Let's move on to next week. The Kohlers versus the Cats on Thursday night. This is a pretty good game for the Thursday night.
Yes.
This isn't the 4:40 on the Sunday shit game. This is a real good one. Except if you ask Penal, I guess.
no, I want Geelong to win. Wait, no.
You want the draw?
I want the. Part of me wants Geelong to win because fuck Sydney, but part of me wants Sydney to win so I can fucking start a Geelong thread about how shit their youth are.
We can always wait a week for that, I guess.
They've got Carlton after the Sydney game, so if they don't lose to Sydney, we'll probably have to wait a while for a loss.
Okay.
Geelong easily against Sydney.
Yep, I'm on Geelong because it's at the SCG, which I don't think advantages the Swans anymore since they got the big targets. They need space, and the SCG closes that down. I think Geelong will beat them.
Plus, Buddy never plays well against Geelong.
Yeah, that too.
Weather, we got any forward look at the weather?
No.
You're the weatherman, aren't you? Teach?
Well, I hadn't looked at it. Oh, no, I actually think Sydney are going to win.
Oh, Nearly
Well,
changed his
yeah,
tip.
he'll change his tip.
No, well, I didn't change any of my tips from last week at all.
That's
all
a
the
first.
same. Yeah, that's a first, so get used to it.
I think the peer pressure's paid off here.
I think Sydney will probably beat us. We're just in a little bit of a lull. We're in a high training regime right now. So
Here come the excuses. You don't even have many injuries.
I know what's going on. Don't you worry about that.
He knows a great deal about the area.
Yeah, I just think we'll just get beaten. Not by much, but we'll just get beaten. Couple of points.
Geelong will probably win because I think they're a slightly better team.
Okay. St Kilda versus Collingwood in what is supposed to be the reconciliation game. It's amazing that Collingwood's in this game considering all the issues with Indigenous players they have, but they will win this.
Easily.
Easy, yes.
Oh,
Yep.
smashing. Collingwood by a mile.
I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. Collingwood by 70 points.
This is a weird one. Indigenous round's going to TIO Chaga Park, I think.
TIO's in Darwin.
I thought it is too, but I'm pretty sure I've heard Alice Springs.
Alice Springs, I think.
It's in the Northern Territory. Indigenous round's going to the Northern Territory for a day game, which is weird. They don't normally play during the day up in the Territory, but Melbourne's playing Port. Look, the heat usually brings these ones really close.
What's the weather like going to be like, Teach?
Hot and humid.
Ask Teach, the weatherman.
Oh, well, have you seen Chopper Reed's weather forecast for the Northern Territory?
No.
No.
He does the weather forecast for the whole country. He goes, I'll tell you what, Alice Springs, I'll give you a weather forecast for the next 1,000 fucking years. It's going to be fucking hot. And when it's not hot, it's going to be hot and fucking wet.
No, I think Port will win, even though these do have a habit of bringing the games closer where the better team doesn't always win, and it's a scrappy affair. I think Port will win.
Yeah, Port.
Yes, Port. They will roll on.
The game that Les Norton's trying desperately to get out of, Brisbane versus Carlton at the Gabba.
All he needs to do is fuck his brother-in-law to get out of it. But, he's not prepared to do that. But got to go with Carlton.
Oh, come on. Like, everyone rips into me for my fucking tear goo comment, and no one bats an eyelid at Teach fucking his brother-in-law.
I didn't say I was going to fuck my brother-in-law. I was talking about Les.
Yeah, I didn't say I was going to drink my fucking goo tears.
You wanted to know what it was like, though. How can you know what it's like without experiencing it? Sorry, Penal.
Yeah. Anyone else think that Brisbane are a snowflake's chance?
I do. I think they'll
Ooh,
win.
Really?
Yep.
I think they're a chance, but I don't think they'll win.
I think they're
Penal,
going to win.
what do you think?
Brisbane will win. Yeah, I'm down on this one.
Carlton.
Carlton are due for a reality check.
I don't rate either team, but I rate Brisbane so much worse.
Yeah, Brisbane is shit. Carlton.
All right, so we evenly split Dreamtime at the G on the Saturday night, Richmond, Essendon. I don't think we've turned the corner, unlike Thai boys, but I don't think Essendon are that good either, so I'm optimistic enough to pick a draw.
No.
Thanks, Teach.
You can't go 800% confidence with a draw.
I didn't say 800%, I just said optimistic enough that I don't rate Essendon.
Richmond will win.
Yeah, I'm with the Tigers on this one, just because Essendon were looking really, really flat and average before the bye.
Probably going to go with the drug cheats on this one.
You got a bit of love for the herd right there, have you?
Not.
You tip who you think's going to win, T.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not like you. I don't change my tip or anything. I just go with who I think will win.
All right, bitch. Calm down.
Anyway, 4 games on the Sunday. This is new. I don't know if this has happened since the 90s even.
It's a special week, this one being Brad Scott week, so we get the Sunday night game.
Adelaide versus Gold Coast at the Adelaide Oval early in the day.
Ooh, this is a tough one to pick. I mean, bloody Adelaide, they're just up and down. How do you pick them?
Well, you don't. The Suns are pretty good.
I'm going to go with Adelaide because it's at their home ground, and I think Gold Coast...
Yeah, but they lost to Melbourne there.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're doing my head in now. No, I'll stick with Adelaide.
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast pretty comfortably, 5-6 goals.
Yeah, Gold Coast. Unless Tex turns it on, but he hasn't looked the same footballer yet. He's still a bit off pace.
Yeah, see, it's fucking hard to come back from an ACL, and all you guys have been criticising sticking the boot into Schoenmakers,
Yeah,
but
but he was
he's
shit
doing
before
Oh,
much worse.
shut up, bitch.
Penal.
Bulldogs versus Fremantle.
Next. Oh, can't
Bulldogs are
bother.
pretty ordinary at the moment. Fremantle boring
Yeah.
as fuck, but they should get the job done.
Freo.
Honest question, are the Bulldogs probably the biggest disappointment of the season so far? Because they're probably stagnating under McCartney a bit.
Oh, sorry. Have
We've
you
been
forgot
pretty
to
shit.
watch Richmond games? Yeah, but Fremantle, yeah, pretty easy.
Trio, yes.
Do I need to even ask? I think 186 is within sight when Hawthorn play GWS at the MCG.
Oh, massacre. Absolute and utter massacre.
This could get ugly.
Yeah, big percentage boost for the Hawks.
Does anyone think differently?
Maybe even the much maligned Schoenklangers may kick a couple of goals. What do you think, Penal?
I think he will play in defence out of necessity because the Giants... I don't know, maybe... Depends on what the Giants do. I mean, if they send Jeremy Cameron to full back, then we probably don't need to play Schoenmakers in the back line. But
Well, that worked last week.
Yeah, that went real well. Went about as well as Carlisle playing forward.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll break any records on this one, just because we don't need the percentage. We already have the best percentage in the league, so we don't need to go all out. I think we can probably...
It just depends. It depends on whether they flood back or not. If they don't flood, then you could set records. But if they do flood, then, you're just going to get it smashed up into your forward line for half an hour whilst you kick
I think
10 goals.
we'll get the margin up to about 70 points, maybe during the third quarter, and then just take the foot off, and then it'll stay around there.
We got there in the second quarter. I reckon you'll get there before the third.
That might actually happen just before half time.
Yeah.
So,
I'm going to tip GWS to get within 40 points.
oh, well.
I honestly think they'll lose by about 10 goals. They'll be better, but they just won't be good enough.
I don't think they'll get slaughtered.
Oh, they will. It'll be 120 points plus.
No, it'll be 70, 80 max. No records to be broken this week.
Okay. And to finish off the round, a night game, though a twilight game in Perth. It's the Brad Scott game, West Coast versus North. Look, the Avatars are fantastic. They were fantastic last year.
They were funny last year.
They were great, and it's good fun. I think everyone's enjoying it, except perhaps the North mods.
What are you talking about? Reap's liking it?
Oh, well, except for Reap, yeah, he's a North mod. But the other North mods, not so much.
North will win. 20 points.
I think North will win. They beat Freo there, so I think that duck is off their back.
This is probably the hardest game to tip. All right, yeah, I'll tip North.
It's a tough game because both were shit last week and both can improve. West Coast are flat track bullies, but North have been... Look, I think North will win. So based on the way I've been tipping North in the last 3 weeks, I'll tip West Coast on that.
Look, Dan, I jumped off the bandwagon and last week...
Yeah, that's
said,
unforgivable.
You've jumped off and crashed it so many times.
Dan, don't let him back on.
No, I'm back on.
It's not mine to decide. It's his wagon. He can do whatever he wants with it. I guess.
Yeah, I'm back on.
You jump off and start your own one then. I think Teach can be on his own.
No, everyone's on my wagon. I just,
Everyone has no choice.
I had to kick them off last week.
What are you,
because
fucking
they were
Robert
playing the
Hughes?
catch.
Come inside the van, children. Get free can.
No underage people on our bandwagon. It's totally legit.
Anyway, I think that's just about everything. So yeah, this was the vlogcast for round 11, Indigenous round. Fyfie joined by Penal,
See ya.
Dan,
There.
and Teach.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, Hodgepodge. There was your message.
Hello.
Hodgepodge.
I see. That's like 5 mentions now for you. You should be happy.